Okay, guys, let's move to question 6.4. It indicates that if mn is equals to 6, so this is mn. So they're indicating that if that length from m to n is equals to 6, then 6.4.1 says determine the length of OT if t lies on the negative x-axis. Show all your working. So this question is allocated 4 marks. So this type of a question, you already know that at that point where it's m, and also at that point where it's referred to as point n, you've got a length which is already given. So in terms of formulating the formula which we can use to calculate the distance from that point to this point, it's actually the difference of this formula and that formula. So that's why I've got a formula which says length of mn is equals to the y value of this graph minus the y value of this graph. So the y value of this graph of f minus the y value of this graph of g, it's equals to the length from there to there, which is already given as 6. So in solving this question, I'm simply going to calculate the difference between the two graphs and then equate them to 6, then solve for x. The x value that I get is the x value at that point. So whatever x value that I get is the distance from O to P. If I get 10x the x value, then it means from O, which is the origin, or from point 0 to point T, it's equals to 10. So if I get say 5 as the x value at that point, then it means the length from O to that point is whatever x value that I get. And also remember that it's on the negative side of the x-axis, so we'll obviously get a negative x value. But then in terms of the distance, you cannot refer the distance as a negative distance. So whatever number that we get, it should be a negative number, but in terms of the distance, it's just a positive number. So now I've got my L, which is the length of mn, is equals to f of x minus g of x. And these are the formulas for f and also for g. So it's the graph of f minus the graph of g. So it's important to put all of this in brackets because that difference is going to make it's actually going to have an impact on this graph because you multiply by a negative sign. So it's always safer to put or to substitute everything in brackets just to be on the safe side in terms of calculations. Okay, so on your next step, you've got your equation, then you multiply by minus 1 minus 1. So remember, this is minus, 1 is there, so you just can't write 1 there, so it's times minus 1 times minus 1 becomes minus x minus 1. And then you equate the whole of this to 6 because we know the length of mn is equals to 6. So you've got your 6, which is equals to, you just simplify the whole of this and you get x squared minus 3x minus 4. So it comes from that x squared minus 2x minus x is minus 3x minus 3 minus 1, it's minus 4. So what you do for the next step, you just move that 6 to the other side of the equal sign, then it becomes minus 6. You work it out with minus 4, it becomes minus 10. So remember, you moved it, then you remained with 0. So you just write it in the standard form. You've got your x squared minus 3x minus 10. It comes from minus 4 and minus 6, and then you equate it to 0. So the 0 is the number that you remained with after moving 6 to the other side of the equal sign. You therefore factorize the whole of this, and these are the factors that you get when you factorize it. So in case if you are not good in factorizing, remember to always use the quadratic formula. So you'll never go wrong with the quadratic formula. So when you punch all of this on the quadratic formula, it gives you the final answer. You change from positive to negative, and then you get the next number. Then you just write those numbers in these brackets using the opposite signs. So that's how you get your factors. The formula gives you the final answers, but you just rewrite those final answers with their opposite signs in the brackets to indicate the factors. So that means you've got two x values, and between these two x values, one of them is the x value at that point. So that means it's either 5 or negative 2, which is the x value at that point. So since we know that it's on the negative side of the x-axis, it has to be minus 2. So that means at point T, we've got our x value as minus 2. So that means obviously from point O to T, the length is equals to 2 units. So finally, you just indicate that the length from O to T is equals to 2 units. So that means from that point to that point, in terms of length, it's equals to 2 units. It cannot be 5 because 5, it's not applicable on this side of the x-axis.